my name is Spencer. I'm a director at a company called Totem Learning. We, until March, were based in Coventry. Now we're all over the place, geographically at least. We've just celebrated our 8th birthday. We're 15 people. And then we also work with outsourced partners in the Indian subcontinent and Ukraine when bigger things come along. But we started 8 years ago as what's known as a serious games business. And I'm going to rattle a little bit because of time, but I hope what this encourages, as a success measure, is someone having a chat with me kind of after this meeting at some point about tell me more. So a serious games business, for anyone that doesn't know, uses all of the bad press that video games gets and turns it on its head. So we make addictive, viral, eyebrow-raising, engaging, community bringing together tricks, but with educational content. So, and it's that I came to see Joe about maybe a year ago or something like that. Now, I'd suspect probably maybe a bit less than that, but not very much. And I would say definitely what we've just heard from Joe, they do walk the walk. They are very open-minded about innovation, very enthusiastic, very accepting of ideas that I talk to everyone about, actually, and I would say 7 times out of 10 just receive a glazed look. So when we were embraced with open arms by Joe and the team at Coventry, it was a delight. So I will talk very briefly about a project that we're working on with a different AHSN in the southeast. But one of the things that Totem wants to do is a lot more health-based projects, and hopefully I'll sort of make that clear as we go along. But we run as a private limited company, but we have a social enterprise heart, I think it's fair to say. So we do a lot with the third sector, and we give an awful lot away. And I think, we need to stay alive as a business commercially, but we also like to leave a sort of a decent shadow behind us. So I'm going to talk about Don't Walk Past, and in summary, 4 bullet points really. It was commissioned by a guy called Des, who I've just got off the phone to, actually. So we're trying to think through a crowdsourcing campaign. But he has, I think, a similar role. I'm still understanding how the NHS and all of its many factions work, basically. But I think it's a sort of similar role to Joe. He's a clinical lead, but also heads up the AHSN in Kent, Surrey and Sussex. We went to talk to him about 2 years ago now about what games and associated digital learning could do. Like Joe, he embraced the concept immediately, came up with a list of 12 things that we could have done on day one. And the one that we chose was this Don't Walk Past project, and it tries to tackle something called parity of esteem that I'd never heard of, but you may have done. So apologies if the next sentence is something you already know, but it's this thing of we're relatively good, I think, at physically fixing people in the NHS, but we're a little bit less confident when it comes to tackling people's mental health issues. So parity of esteem is talking about let's treat suspected mental health issues with the same amount of kind of attention and enthusiasm as we do everything else that we do in the hospital. So that was the general idea. A game-based approach, so they do have mental health first aid training, and again, I'm sure some of you at least are familiar with that. So face-to-face in a classroom for a day. There are a plethora of resources, I think, everywhere in terms of other people that can help on the subject. But he could really see how creating a game would really engage people in a subject that sometimes people find difficult to talk about in groups and that kind of thing. And the idea was to just increase the confidence of everyone that works in the hospitals that Des looks after, literally having those first conversations. Yep. So it's not about diagnosing mental illness. It's not about becoming, a psychiatrist or a psychologist in any way. It's literally, tomorrow, after having played that game, do I decide to sit down next to that person who doesn't look very happy, or do I whiz past on my way to my next appointment, which is probably what I would otherwise usually do? And that's the metric almost that he's using for success. Are we having more conversations? Is that coming through in sort of patient feedback? And we have a heavily user-led consultative approach, particularly for this project. So we spent about 3 months literally just traveling around the different sites that Kent, Surrey and Sussex owns from an NHS point of view, asking, running workshops, running ideas workshops. So it's a little bit like your double diamond, Joe. You know, the first thing to do was to open the funnel as widely as we could and look for themes, and to make sure we consulted every cohort, from security guards to porters to physios to pharmacy. You know, it's kind of everyone we could get in a room, really, to really understand why people were squeamish around this subject or less confident. Then we do, don't worry about the kind of details here, it's the picture, but then we do this journey planning stuff, which is, okay, what we've decided to do is create a series of dialogues that you can have on a telephone, not spoken dialogues, but mimicking something like WhatsApp or Snapchat or something like that. You know, again, a very accessible format most people will be super familiar with. And so again, we're overcoming, hopefully, this sort of other barrier that we sometimes find, which is people not being very tech savvy sometimes. So if you can use WhatsApp, if you can order a pair of shoes from Amazon, then you can use this game. So we walk through scenarios and then we run those through with the cohorts, with the people we're designing for, to say, is this a realistic scenario between someone that would work in a hospital and a potential patient? And then they fine tune that with us, so that at the end, you know, the game at the end sort of feels realistic. So as an overview, what happens is you open the game, you choose a character that you want to play with, and all these characters again have come from stories that clinicians have told us about, or people that work in it have told us about, that they have done, right? So they're quite realistic. And then you have a dialogue with this individual to try and get past the superficial, yes, I'm okay, thank you very much, and into, you know, you don't appear to be very happy today, you know, is there anything we can do for you? So again, it's not about mental health diagnosis, it's about making people feel a little bit more comfortable when they're in hospital. And we fear that actually an underlying mental health condition might be, in some ways, more of an issue than the physical thing they've come in to get help with. So I've just got a series of slides that give you screenshots. If you can imagine, we've designed this mobile first, so you will play this on your telephone. And again, that's about being user-led. We know that everyone's got a phone. Most people have a smartphone. We know that people that work in the NHS haven't got a load of time. We often know that the IT infrastructure is varied, let's say, but we know that people will keep a half-decent phone. So we knew that that was the best delivery mechanism for this particular product.
Spencer, are you able to maximize your screen, maybe? So we can see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that better? Is that
much better? Yeah. Much better, yeah.
All right, okay. So on the right hand side here you have what you would see on the screen. So again, just moving through very quickly. This is still sort of work in progress and protected IP as well, so I'm sort of giving you a bit of a soundbite and some snippets rather than the whole kind of 9 yards. So yeah, you're invited into a game, then you'll have a world view of a map of a hospital with a number of different characters built into it, and then you click on the character that you want to go and have a dialogue with first. As you can see, then the dialogue starts to unfold in terms of what we call branching scenarios in the game. So Joe and I have talked about this. We're just about old enough to remember adventure books where you get to a page and it says, if you want to go in the cave, go to page 56, and if you want to go home, but go to page 19 or whatever, and then it branches. So we can almost do an infinite amount of that with software. So there's a whole bunch of conversations and possible routes through this conversation for each character. And then there's other things on this screen on the right hand side that are worth just bringing to our attention. Again, you type your answer, or you'll choose your answer in a way that you would do, again, with any kind of mobile app. And then on the top you have this empathy bar, and that empathy bar is a bit like an energy bar. If you've seen in different games, as you're fighting the dragon, it's either sapping your energy or you're defeating it or whatever it is, and your bar goes up and down. So we've decided that an empathy bar, in conjunction with the consultation, the empathy bar is a good way of kind of demonstrating how you're getting on with this game. So I'm just wary of time, I'm overrunning already, so I'll just whiz through. So you can see also things like we've done some simple animations to demonstrate again that you're doing well or you're not doing well based on how Jane is looking. And then on the right hand side of the screen you've got a plus or a minus button, and that helps you unfold the conversation so you can explore it. and look for things you did well. At the end of the game, we point you to resources also that would be useful, that already exist, to try and keep these in one place. And I think finding those has been difficult. So a very, very quick run through some of the stuff that we've sort of designed into this, because you're only getting a snapshot really. We've based it around conversation, observation, and investigation. So just encouraging many different ways that you can pick up feedback and information from patients in terms of their mental health. And then we've built in a number of tricks that games designers use to make this much more engaging than just electronic learning. So we'll have characters that some people will see and some people won't. We'll get people talking about the game. You can fail fast. We've made the scenarios very short, so you can play them in a coffee break. What else is there? Character design is very important. People get weirdly attached to characters in video games. They become real very quickly. So again, the kind of advantages are down the right hand side there that I could unpack ad infinitum basically. But the idea is to make learning fun and engaging, and to keep people coming back to it. So we've got to finish that game off. So that was what the conversation about crowdsourcing and crowdfunding was all about at 9 o'clock this morning. A new project, as Joe has indicated, we're talking to him and Joe Skillman about a video-based evidence. This is, you know, these are the skills that I can do as a junior doctor. That's the skills passport. An app for making young people feel more comfortable about their visit to hospital, a game that actually teaches people in the NHS and outside about how to innovate, and that process that Joe was kind of talking through. We're doing a fire evacuation virtual reality for a different hospital up north. And actually there's so much coming through the door now. We are thinking seriously about starting up a separate company called Totem Health. There's just so many different agendas in the health service we think that we could help out with. The end. And sorry for overrunning and going at 1,000,000 miles an hour.